So going back to coming from where I left off last time, this story really was the first time. This class was really the first time that I actually had to write my own story, possibly ever, or like in a really long time. You in college you do a lot of writing papers, but you don't really do that much, if any at all, like storytelling. And that's definitely a huge takeaway I had from this class because, sometimes you have homework assignments that you do just because you have to, and some of them you get a little more into based on whether or not you enjoy them. And I thought I did enjoy having to actually write my own story for the first time. So hopefully I developed those skills, but I also enjoyed it, so that's worth something. Some more learning goals to address. Develop an understanding of narrative structure, characterization, setting, tone, style, and situate in relation to author experience. Um, well, I mean, hey, Joseph Conrad is a perfect example right there. Um, just learning about how the author, the author's actual life impact his the story. And I'll tell you something. It One thing it really made me realize, and I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I remember when we were younger, in sixth grade, we had a teacher who taught us history and English. She taught us both. We called it social studies, but social studies and English. And now that I look back at it, we always read what we were reading in our English class was always, um, at the same time as the history unit we were learning as well. So, like for example, I remember when we were learning about the Holocaust, we read like a book. When we were learning about the Holocaust in our history class, we learned in our English class. I think it wasn't Anne Frank's diary, but it was another book like that. And when we were this is a good one. When we were learning about it wasn't slavery. It was after slavery. It was like Jim Crow era rules. Like I think it was that time we were learning about racism, and that time in history class, we read To Kill a Mockingbird, and that's similar in a sense how, um, by having a better understanding of what happened during the history of that time, you then can understand the actual literature from that time better. So, um, by understanding the tone and the style and the character setting of the author that the author used, um, I'm so tired. That author used, it kind of helps you read the book or at least see the book from a different light. Okay, another learning goal. The first one: examine the innate relationship between the writer/artist identity, his or her creative work, and get insight as to how our artists draw upon and transform life experience into artistic expression. So I think what I just answered actually is for that bullet point, because the one that I just read was talking about narrative structure, characterization, setting, tone, and style. And what I responded to that was this, which is the relation between the writer and the artist's identity to his work. And the English teacher example that I just created still works there, because I'm talking about how, by having more information about a topic and then writing about it, like the artist living the life and then writing a piece of fiction that has to do with that life, it gives them more of an insight into it. um, okay. Some other learning goals to discuss. You're definitely going to want to address the learning goal of handing in work in a timely manner and time management skills. How that may not be an English class learning goal and more of a learning goal for all courses in general, but how this summer you had to balance work and school, and how you really just took this class as the last class you needed to graduate, and you thought like, yeah, I'd have no problem doing it because like whatever, I'll just do it in my free time or whatever, but work ended up taking a lot more of a toll than you expected. And like one learning goal that you definitely failed was the ability to set proper times to do your schoolwork compared to your work. And now that you have the rest of your life to live post college, post graduate, like now you've already graduated, like you need to work on your time management. So you could just say it's a learning goal that you didn't reach. Um, what else? What else? Hone reasoning and critical analysis skills by engaging in close studies of fictional works and other forms of artistic expression in conjunction with nonfiction, biographic, and autobiographic texts. Um, yeah, these are all pretty much the same thing. I mean, each of these bullet points from the learning goals are just talking about how, understand how the author's life experiences affect his work. So hone in on that. I know I didn't do a great job giving you this. oral presentation. I don't even do a great job at the class either. Is what it is. Um, if I'm not even. Yeah, sorry. Is what it is. Let's see if I can come up with any way else here to make this final presentation a little better and a little longer. Okay, I got it. You could talk about how in college, like a learning goal is just like coming into. Okay, I got it. It's not great, but it's medium. You could talk about how in interviews, when you interview for jobs coming out of college, a classic like job interview question is like, "What's the last book you've read?" And whenever someone like asks you that question, you think about it like you don't really read much on your free time, and when you do, it's not novels because I don't know, like when you get to college and stuff, like it's not like high school where you're always reading a novel for your English class and then you write literature, and then like you write essays about it. The reading that you do, especially if you're in a business program at a school like YU, is a case study or maybe it's like a report, maybe, but you're not really reading like just fiction books, and you were hoping that by taking a class called Truth and Fiction, you'd expose yourself to more fiction that you probably wouldn't have read on your free time, and a lot of it was a lot more interesting to you than you expected it to be. So you expect to do more fiction reading in your free time. So like, don't use keep stop using Heart of Darkness because I keep using it as an example. So go to any other reading that you're allowed to use. Sure, I'll just pick one for you right now. One sec. Oh, God, it's so annoying. One second. Just keep watching me paused. Eventually, I'll start saying words. I'm just looking for a good example. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong area. That's why. One sec. Okay. You can say going all the way back to when you read Sonny's Blues, which was like one of the first things you wrote about for this class. Sonny's Blues is what it's called. Um, and it was this story about how a teacher whose younger brother got caught dealing heroin, and he went to jail for it. And then you learn about the relationship between him and his brother. Either way, that's not the point. The reason I took that long pause and to find something else was that I can find an actual example for you to use in terms of a piece of fiction that you read that you wouldn't have read otherwise. So just say how you read Sonny's Blue, a story about a teacher who's uh, found out that his little brother got jailed for drug use and for selling drugs, and how him and his brother like had a very strained relationship, and then eventually like when the brother got out of jail, like he finally took his brother in and they mended they didn't really mend their relationship, but either way they became closer, and it was just an interesting piece of fiction that you wouldn't have read otherwise, and it kind of like reminded yourself at the time when you were younger and used to like read Harry Potter books for actual fun, and then as you get older you kind of just stopped reading fiction for whatever reason, and by taking a class Truth and Fiction you actually came away with an interest in maybe reading some more fiction. So to summarize really quickly, learning goal: I had no interest in reading fiction. Didn't read any fiction in college. Took a class called Learning in Fiction. Read some interesting stuff. Might read a little more fiction. So that is another learning goal that you accomplished. Um, I tried my best here. I'm not going to be so active on my phone tomorrow because I'm going from camp to get some stuff for Zolan's wedding and then to the airport at night. But we're going to Mulligan, so I'll be able to be on my phone more. But I'll try my best to respond if you have any questions or anything. Good night.